cooperation between Zimbabwe and Russia, which was done on the 5th to the 7th August 2019. Cabinet received a report by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade on the third session of the Intergovernmental Commission on Economic Trade, Scientific and Cooperation between Zimbabwe and Russia, which was held in Moscow, Russia from the 5th to the 7th of August 2019. The co-chairs of the third session were the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade of Zimbabwe and the Minister of Natural Resources and the Environment of Russia. The deliberations achieved the following in the specified subsectors of bilateral cooperation. First, the legal framework of bilateral cooperation. The agreement to conclude the following 6 memoranda of understanding before end of 2019: mutual protection of classified information, cooperation in the field of geological exploration and mineral resource management, cooperation in platinum group metals, cooperation in the field of diamond exploration and mining, and cooperation in the field of peaceful use of nuclear energy. The signing of the Memorandum of Agreement between the Ministry of Home Affairs and Cultural Heritage of Zimbabwe and the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Russia. The MOUs covers cooperation in the fight against violent crimes on human life, terrorism-related extremist activity, economic crimes, and human and illicit weapons trafficking. Then B, the economic trade and industrial cooperation. Commitment by the two countries to support the upcoming September 2019 visit of the ZNCC to Moscow as a build-up to the October 2019 Russia-Africa Summit in Sochi. And Russian companies offered to supply civilian passenger and training aircraft, commerce trucks of different ranges, rail freight wagons, agricultural and power engineering equipment, and waste-to-energy plants. Under cooperation in mining, 6 Russian companies undertook to cooperate with Zimbabwean companies in the prospecting, exploration, and appraisal of Zimbabwe's mineral deposits. An agreement also was reached between the two countries on the need to carry out joint research studies to confirm safety in the use of chrysotile asbestos. Under cooperation in the energy sector, there was an agreement on the need to exchange information to meet the interest of 5 Russian companies to develop hydrological sites, to refurbish, build new power generating facilities, and to develop renewable energy in Zimbabwe. And under cooperation in science and education, an agreement was reached on the need to exchange information on national education systems and approaches to education quality assurance. Agreement by the two countries to develop a legal framework on the mutual recognition of educational credentials and degrees. Under cooperation in healthcare, agreement was reached to cooperate in healthcare, with Zimbabwe expected to receive assistance in specialist training for nurses and doctors in the field of renal medicine and oncology from Russia. And under cooperation in agriculture, EcoRost, a Russian company, will supply fertilizer and liquid feed additives to Zimbabwe. Then another company, BioNavatic, another Russian company, will supply plant protecting bioproducts and growth additives to Zimbabwe. The two companies are expected to produce the above stated products in Zimbabwe. And under cooperation in communication and mass media, Zimbabwe will avail a draft memorandum of understanding that will facilitate exchange of news in English between Russia's Sputnik News Agency and radio and Zimbabwe's mass media organizations. And other cooperation in tourism. Zimbabwe is expected to benefit from Russia's massive US dollars 31.1 billion, which was 2018 outbound tourism economy, through the implementation of the 5-year plan of action as specified in the Memorandum of Understanding in the field of tourism, which was signed in 2017 between the two countries. The two countries have established a follow-up mechanism to ensure full implementation of the agreed issues. The enhanced technical and economic cooperation will see Zimbabwe benefiting tremendously from Russian companies. That is the report which was given by Honorable S.B. Moyo on his visit to Russia. Then Cabinet considered a paper by the Minister of Mines and Mining Development, Honorable Chitando, on the roadmap for the achievement of a US $12 billion industry in Zimbabwe by 2023, a 344% increase from 2.7 billion in 2017. A detailed document which will outline the achievements of the $12 billion US by 2023 will be launched very shortly. Cabinet also considered some of the enablers towards the achievement of the 2023 mining milestone. Cabinet agreed that provincial committees chaired by the respective provincial mining directors be set up, and they should include provincial heads of EMA, ZINO, ZERA, and directors of physical planning in the Ministry of Local Government, Public Works and National Housing to coordinate mining-related development in those respective provinces. Cabinet also received an update on the progress in the implementation of the following mining projects. Karo Resources. Production of the first of 4 portals is on course for completion by the end of 2020 or first quarter of 2021. Zimasco, expansion of furnace capacity at Kwekwe is in progress. Work is underway on power generation from coal bed methane gas. Under Tsingshan Steel Project. 2 furnaces being is going to be commissioned in September this year, 2019, as part of expansion of required ferrochrome production. There is going to be production of coke site establishment. Teams will be on the ground in Mvuma area for resource evaluation under Tsingshan Steel Project. Then under Bravura, another company, investor, evaluation of resources is underway. They've already invested heavily in drilling rigs. And another investor, Arcadia Lithium, funding has been secured, construction is about to start. Kamativi Tailings Company, construction is in progress and should commence production in 2020. Then South Mining Company, they are constructing a coke works plant which will produce about 300,000 tons per annum, generating about US $75 million. The first section of the battery plant, which produces 150,000 tons, being turned on around 27th August 2019, and this will start producing about 50 days later. The second phase of 150,000 tons being turned on in December 2019. Then there's another company called Jinan in Gweru. This company produces high carbon ferrochrome. They are the only producers of low carbon and ferrosilicon chrome, which is high value. The commissioning will be in September this year, and they will be the first and so far the only plant of electrode paste which is used in furnace operations. Tsingshan Afroshin is another investor. They are already running 3 furnaces in Selu. 2 new furnaces, which currently make them the highest producers of high carbon ferrochrome, are ready for commissioning. Then that's as far as the update on the implementation of the projects. Cabinet considered an update on the Public Works Program and the DDF borehole drilling program, which was presented by the Minister of State for Presidential Affairs and Monitoring Implementation of Government Programs, Honorable Joram Gumbo. Cabinet expressed satisfaction over the progress in the program, which has assumed agency in view of the current drought situation. Implementation of the program will alleviate the plight of the country's citizens and livestock in areas most affected by the drought. That was the report update on the Public Works Program and the DDF borehole drilling program. Then the Cabinet also received a report on the 39th Ordinary Summit of SADC Heads of State and Government held from the 17th to the 18th August 2019 in Dar es Salaam, the Republic of Tanzania. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Honorable S.B. Moyo, briefed Cabinet on the deliberations of the 39th Ordinary Summit of SADC Heads of State and Government, which was held in Dar es Salaam from the 17th to the 18th August this year. The summit was held under the theme, A Conducive Environment for Inclusive and Sustainable Industrial Development, Increased Intra-Regional Trade and Job Creation. That is the theme which the summit was held under. The President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, His Excellency Comrade E.D. Mnangagwa, assumed the chairmanship of the SADC organ of politics, defense and security cooperation, while President John Magufuli of Tanzania assumed the chairmanship of SADC. A key outcome of the summit was the unanimous call for the immediate and unconditional lifting of illegal sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe by the West. Furthermore, the summit agreed as follows, that the SADC chair and all SADC heads of state and government include the removal of sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe in their statements to be delivered to the United Nations General Assembly in September 2019 as a SADC position. And that 25th of October this year, 2019, be declared the date on which SADC member states can collectively voice their disapproval and condemnation of the sanctions through various activities and platforms for the sanctions to be lifted. Also, at the same conference, a Zimbabwean student, Wongai Showa, was awarded the second prize of the 2019 SADC Secondary School Essay Competition, while Butler Nepure, another Zimbabwean journalist, received a SADC Media Award. That is the report as far as the SADC conference is concerned. Then Cabinet also received a report on the fuel and energy supply situation. The Minister of Energy and Power Development, Honorable Chasi, informed Cabinet that the power supply situation is significantly improved on account of power imports from ESCOM. The Minister is soon to meet his Mozambican counterpart for negotiations relating to additional power imports from HCB from Mozambique. A favorable outcome of these negotiations will further stabilize the country's power situation. The Minister also informed Cabinet that the fuel supply situation continues to improve as reflected in shorter queues. The situation is expected to further improve as the arrangements for the financing of more fuel imports are due to be concluded very soon. I thank you sincerely for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. So there we are. It's your opportunity now to pose questions on the brief just given all the decisions Cabinet today. So as usual, I'll give you the first session for questioners. You introduce who you are and who you represent. Then if it permits, then we will have the second and last session. So any offers? Yes, Shambaka.
Thank you, Tapu Chiambake from Zanu-PF TV.
Was preceded by His Excellency's visit in January. So this was actually a follow-up of events which developed and which actually rekindled the kind of focus by Russia in as far as its policy on Africa is concerned. And a number of agreements, of course, were discussed and they were concluded. But they've been reserved for signature in October during the Russia-Africa Summit in Sochi, so to speak. And this is where a number of these agreements are going to be signed. But they've been agreed between the two parties. And therefore that is the process. That includes, therefore, the power development agreement, which Russia is quite eager. Well, you say because of the current situation of power shortages. I think the power, on behalf of Minister of Energy, I think the power situation at the moment is transitory. It's not a permanent feature when you look at the grand plans which this country has and which this government has. And therefore, I think this agreement with Russia is only going to complement already plans which are there. Otherwise, you are going to be smiling all over with electricity. Thank you.
To the effect that they are condemning police acts to stop demonstrations by the opposition. I just wanted to find out, where does this put Zimbabwe's re-engagement efforts with the West? Thank you.
Okay. Any yes, second part?
Thank you, Taku Chiambako, Zimpapers. My question goes to Minister of Finance. With these projections from the Minister of Mines, does this then mean Zimbabwe's economy is no longer being driven by agriculture, or the agricultural sector will also come up with a position paper like what the Ministry of Mines has done to say from...
You want to know my comment? Well, yes, I've just heard about that comment by the number of capitals, but that is their right, that is their independent position. Our position is that sanctions are outdated, as you made the relationship with SADC's position. SADC's position has also said sanctions are outdated and they must go. And the African Union is also saying the same thing. Now, to try and bring the issue of police reaction, police is an independent organ of the state, which makes its own assessment, and I've issued a statement towards that issue, and which deals with situations as they assess. And they made a legal position and they presented it. It was challenged, and unfortunately it was not, to them, it was not successful. But thereafter, they proceeded with the demonstration, which was now fundamentally an illegal demonstration in terms of the law. So, whether the police used excessive force or not, we will always, as government, desire that the police should use commensurate force or response to demonstrations. But also, it is a very subjective matter, as you may understand, to say at what point, when the protesters wanted to enter Mumtaba building here, what could the police have done except throw smoke? These are the issues which can always be debated day and night. That's why I'm saying it is their right to say so. But I think we must be clear here about the circumstances, about the situation which has been developing on the ground. Re-engagement is a process. I've always said that. It is a process It is not an event, and it takes two. But one thing which this dispensation and government and the people have decided is that we must move on with or without sanctions. Because we believe that sanctions are now out of date and they are irrelevant to the environment which characterizes this country at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister S.B. Moyo.
This was cooperation in exploration and other areas and the research in as far as peaceful use of nuclear energy. And when you say peaceful use of nuclear energy, it is one of the areas where power actually can be generated from, in as far as that is concerned. But whether it's not so much about being implemented, but it is an agreement which co-joins the two countries for research.
Oh, thank you very much, Chief Secretary. I think we've taken our second round.
Okay.
I want to thank you and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Mchangwa and your team for such in-depth